Let me see. I'm gonna take my charger out. My phone is not charged. So we're gonna see how long I can have it like this. And so I'm live over here on Instagram and I'm live over here on YouTube. Let's turn this a little bit this way. Tonight's workshop is going to be on daytime lucid dreaming induction techniques or daytime lucidity induction techniques. And I've called this workshop jokingly breaking into lucidity because I think I have some unique perspectives and techniques and things to share with you that will make becoming lucid in the dream state and beyond a little bit easier for you. So we're going to start off, of course, talking about things like mindset and perspective and having a goal, and then little by little we're going to tiptoe our way into lots of different tools and techniques that you can use for lucid dreaming in the daytime. So let me actually join in on my computer live so I can see the chat. And let me see. And then I have my notes as always. Okay, perfect, I can see. I have my notes as always. You'll want to go ahead and grab a pen, paper, notebook, tablet, recording device, whatever it is that you're going to need. And then you also want your workbook. I'm going to talk about that in just a few moments when I go through housekeeping. So I have some resources for you and all of that good stuff. I'm going to go ahead and notate the time now so I can have that for the chapter section for you. So housekeeping and resources. Housekeeping item number 1 as always is going to be interaction and questions, sharing. If you have any questions, I know some of the information that I'm going to be going through is a bit nuanced. It can be a little bit difficult to understand. Even the other day someone asked if a lucid dream was the same as a vivid dream, and that's a question that I get often, and they're not. So sometimes there are slight differences between things, and we just want to make sure that we're completely clear. So I will ask you as we go along the way if you understand and for your feedback. But if you don't understand, then please go ahead and ask your question, because I want to make sure that you get what you came to get. Let's see, housekeeping item number 2 is going to be a like. So if you are watching this workshop live or even on the replay, one thing that you can do to support me is just go ahead and give this video a like. Just like you're trying to grow, I'm trying to grow. That one little like will go a very long way, and I appreciate it. If you are live over here on Instagram, if you know someone who's interested in lucid dreaming or Dreamwork, self-care, personal development, please go ahead and share this workshop with them. You can tap the arrow in the lower right hand corner of your screen and send it to them. And especially if you see that they have a green little icon, a green little dot on their profile, that means that they're online and maybe they're waiting for this information. Maybe they've been wondering how to have a lucid dream, and I'm gonna spill the beans on that tonight. So let's see, my next housekeeping item, the live sale. My next live sale on Instagram is going to be October 21st at 12 noon Eastern. That is a Saturday. I'm going to have new crystal jewelry, hand-rolled incense, a few different types of Florida water. So I'm still in the creation process of a lot of the jewelry. But I will have that then, and then the week after that I'm going to update my website with whatever doesn't sell. So that's how I'm going to do that. Just going through housekeeping items really quickly so I can have as much time as I can for the information. The giveaway is going to be on October 19th for everyone who got the workbook. You are entered into it, and I should have brought it over here. I wonder if I have a copy of it right here. Here's it. You're going to be entered into a giveaway to win the complete Dream Book of Love and Relationships. Discover what your dreams and intuition reveal about you in your love life by Jillian Holloway, PhD. So I'll show it over here in case you want to take a screenshot of it over here as well. So if you got the workbook bundle that we will be working through over the next 3 to 4 months, then you're going to be entered into a giveaway to win this book, and I'm going to do that next Thursday on the 19th. And that brings me to the resources, the workbook bundle. If you do feel like you're going to want to dive deeper into the work that we're doing this evening, I actually want to turn this way. I wonder if I can turn this like this. If you do, sorry, I know this is probably giving someone like vertigo. This is bothering me. I'm like, maybe I can't get it centered the way that I want to. I was thinking about this before I went live, and it's like in my mind. I'm gonna move this camera. I have two different cameras, so I'm gonna move this one right here. Okay. So let's see, the workbook bundle, it actually contains 2 workbooks. Right now we're working through the first one, Intro to Dreamwork and Lucid Dreaming for self-care and personal development. So, you know, it's going to take us a few months to get through that, and it's going to be all of the groundwork. And it's so interesting because I have 2 friends who are also following along as I am doing this series. 2 of my personal friends, they are interested in dream work and lucid dreaming. And one of them was like, wow, you are really taking me very fast. He told me that the other day, and then the other friend told me the same thing today. So, you know, we are diving in very quickly. I just feel like I wanted to get you all up and going as quickly as possible. And it does take a lot of work, you know, so it does take doing meditation, it does take dream journaling. That's why we started that at the very beginning, or from day one. But if you do want to dive in deeper and you want to make sure that you get everything and that you actually are able to become lucid, that you're doing the practices, and that you even use your lucid dreaming and your dreams for a specific purpose, go ahead and grab that workbook bundle. It's $22.22, so it's not expensive at all. I try to make sure everything that I do is very cost affordable. So if you do grab that over here on Instagram, you can find it in my bio. On YouTube, I'm actually going to drop it in the chat. That's normally what I do. I was gonna say I'm also gonna put it in the description box, but let me see. So I will also put it there, but I'll go ahead and drop it in the chat for you. And then just go ahead and pull up the first workbook on your computer, laptop, tablet, and I'm going to be giving you the page numbers so that you can follow, you know, as we go along. It contains all of the content, different activities, self-exploration prompts, all of the tools and techniques that we're going to be going through, not just today, but over the next few months. In the back, it has an additional resources section, links to guided meditations. Under the meditation portion in the beginning, it also has a link to a scientific study showing you how meditation helps with lucid dreaming. So it's full of information. So I try to make sure that you're getting, you know, a high quality document, full of tons of information that you will actually be able to put to use. You know, so go ahead and grab that. The first one, open up the first one, the Intro to Dreamwork and Lucid Dreaming one, and that's where we are going to start. Take a sip of my drink. And so just grabbing my notes as well. So I have split this workshop into a few different areas. Let me mark this. So I've split this workshop into a few different areas. First, we're going to talk about setting a meaningful goal. You really are going to need a meaningful goal in order to have enough motivation or inspiration to overcome your habit of non-lucid dreams. Lucidity in the dream state, lucidity period, takes building habit. It takes learning skills. It takes practice. And sometimes the things that you're going to do are going to seem very inconvenient. So you're going to need a lot of motivation, a strong inspiration that really drives you towards lucidity, drives you towards not only creating one habit, but overriding another habit, a habit that's so deeply ingrained in you, which is to be non-lucid. So we're going to talk about that meaningful goal, and I'm going to give you some questions along the way to help you get clear on exactly what that is. We're going to then talk about mindset and mindfulness, and I have 3 different techniques for you in this area, and I think that you'll find them very interesting. The third area that we'll move on to is going to be dream signs and reality checks, and I think that's something that a lot of people are familiar with. Hey Mashu, welcome, welcome, welcome. No problem at all. Welcome. And if you have any questions, go ahead and ask me those as we, move through the material so that you get what you need. The third section, dream signs and reality checks. I think that's what a lot of people are familiar with, and so we're going to go into that as well. And if you have been keeping up with your dream journaling as we have progressed from week 1, then you should be all ready for that, because you're going to be pulling images from your dreams in order to really help you develop your own dream signs and your own preference for your reality checks. So let's go ahead and get started. If you have your workbook, what I want you to do is go ahead and turn to page 9. Let me turn to my page 9. And first, what I'm going to ask you, actually, and I'm going to give you a little bit of time, and I'll repeat the question. I know people who watch the replay are going to want some time as well, so you can press pause on the video at any time, to take as much time as you need to answer the questions. But I have some self-exploration questions for you in order for you to exactly identify your own goal that you want to go after. Once again, that's going to be very important, so you might as well go ahead and get to work on that now. So the first one is going to be, what are 3 motivations that you have for practicing dream work or lucid dreaming? Like, what do you really want to use this for? A lot of people, I'll say on a surface level, want to get lucid in their dreams because they've heard that you can fly in your dreams or you can walk through walls in your dreams, which is absolutely true. And maybe that's what they want to do, fly around in their dreams, have fun, explore. There are other people who want to do other things with their dreams. Maybe you want to discover untapped potentials or transform your mindset, things that are a little bit deeper than just having fun. And this could be a wide variety of things. On Instagram, I made a series, and I'm still doing a series on how I basically, people call this cord cutting, letting go of energetic and emotional ties that you have to other people. And so I talk about that, how I did that through lucid dreaming, and began to set better boundaries for myself, improving my relationships, improving the well-being in my life. So perhaps you have a goal like that. But what you want to do is really think about, what are 3 motivations that you have for practicing dream work or lucid dreaming. Hey Mashi, welcome, welcome. Oh, I see you over here too. If you're over here on Instagram, you can feel free to stay over here, but you can join me on YouTube. Actually, I'm going to put that in the comment section. We'll see how long that stays there. But yes, what are your 3 motivations that you have for practicing dream or lucid dreaming? Like, what is it that you want to do? And just be honest with yourself, whatever it is. What are 3 things that you would like to do or discover using your dreams? So go ahead and take a few moments and think about that, and, come up with 3, if not 3, maybe 1, because it's going to help you if you have some type of goal in mind before we begin going through all of the content. And these questions are at the bottom of page 9, and then the one at the top of page 10, I will leave that for those who have the workbook. So if you we'll just do the first 2 self-exploration questions, and then we'll go ahead and move forward. The second one is, for each of the 3 motivations that you have, why is each task important to you? So this one is gonna, take a little bit more time. So if you're watching this on the replay, you can pause that. If you are here live, then just go ahead and begin writing about the first one, or maybe taking some bullet points for each one. You know, you can do this a variety of different ways, but just begin to get some thoughts going on, you know, the 3 things that you want, and then 3 deeper motivations why you want those things. Once again, you're going to need to have a strong inspiration, a strong motivation, a strong goal, a meaningful goal, an important why, in order to drive you to commit to some of the things that we're going to be talking about. So it has to be like worth it for you. You know, you have to think about like what is worth your inconvenience. And if you have the workbook, then you can see the one at the top of page 10. So just looking at my notes, the reason why you want to have a meaningful goal is you're going to hear the word karma come up probably a few times throughout the workshop tonight, especially you considering the other resources that I have for you. I'm going to pull from a few books. I do like to do that when I'm talking about certain topics that I feel like are nuanced. I know a lot of people have their own spin on lucid dreaming and how to enter the dream state consciously. Even like I find that I'll watch a variety of YouTube videos just to see, you know, what's out there, and, you know, also to learn something new for myself. And I see videos like Wake Back to Bed, and sometimes people present like Wake Back to Bed as like the official Wake Back to Bed, but it's kind of like their own spin on it, which is perfectly fine. But I like to read from, at least to give you text so you can know where I'm pulling the information from, and you can do your own research as well. Because sometimes what someone will call something, I feel like it's not actually what that is. You know, like that's their spin on whatever it is. And it's helpful to have resources, or to be able to go to the text, or go to the, you know, whoever came up with the technique, to be able to go to where they told the public about that technique themselves, you know. So I think that's important. But you're going to hear the word karma come up, and karma, basically, we can call this a tendency, you know, a habit, a tendency. And when I talk about self-care and personal development, I always bring up habit development. And so you can see these 2 things are going to go hand in hand. You're going to need a meaningful goal in order to develop new karma, in order to develop new tendencies. So let me show you the 2 books that I am going to be pulling from this evening, in case you want to grab them along your journey. They are really, really good books. You know, you can see I love a good resource. And I will also put the information to both books in the description box. And I'm going to be reading from both books and giving you some information along with some information from the workbook as well. The first one is called The Tibetan Yogas of Dream and Sleep by Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche. So I will hold it up here, over here on Instagram. You can go ahead and screenshot this if you're watching this on Instagram, and over here on YouTube, you can go ahead and take a screenshot of that book. This is the one I'm going to be presenting a little bit of information from this one. And then the other one is Dream Yoga by Andrew Holacek. So you can take a screenshot of this one. Great book as well. And I will hold this one up here. So I'm going to be pulling a little bit of information from both of those. I'm going to be presenting some techniques. And once again, I didn't come up with these techniques. They are not my techniques. But I do think that they are spot on and like gold standard. And I want you to be able to find the information and research it, and also have your own interpretation of it. You know, you don't have to just go off of what I say or what I believe. You know, you can go to the text and read it yourself and see what you think. But let's talk about our next section: polycentricity, mindset, and mindfulness. And I know some people are coming to this workshop and they're probably like, okay, but what about dream science and reality checks? We're going to get to that, because those things are important. But I think sometimes when I hear people talk about like doing a reality check or doing a state check and not assuming that you're awake, people are kind of like, well, how can I not assume that I'm awake? And it's because you have a strong tendency, a strong habit to always think that you're awake. But it's like, how can I actually feel that and make it really feel like I'm assuming that I'm not awake? And that's where I think that these techniques come in. They help bridge that gap, and they actually help show you how dreaming and waking are really bi-directional. They influence one another, and they both have very much have similar characteristics. And it's from those similar characteristics that we're going to be able to, once we see what those are, we'll be able to build upon that. um, so it's important to have the right mindset. And in workshop 1, I talked to you about polycentricity and wake centricity. I think wake centricity is a term that Andrew Holacek came up with. If he didn't, I apologize. But that's where I first heard it from, and maybe he didn't come up with it, but maybe he did. But he kind of talks about wake centricity as this tendency to view reality only from the perspective of the waking egoic self. The ego is most operative and most online in the waking state. That's why when you fall asleep, sometimes you don't remember things because you're used to viewing reality only from the ego's perspective, and any other perspective or any other state that is out of reach of the ego, it kind of deems less important or less real. And then we further emphasize that in our society, the way that we're conditioned to believe, even from when we're young. I kind of think about a child has a nightmare, and maybe they wake up in the middle of the night and they go running to their parent, like, hey, I had a nightmare. And the parent says, oh, it's just a dream, go back to sleep. This kind of dismissal of the dream state, not saying that they should, exasperate the nightmare and scare their child, but just this tendency or this karma to kind of any state that if it's not the waking state, that it's always just a dream, or always, less real or less important. And that's not how every culture around the world. There are other cultures whose societies, whose perspectives are completely different. And they value also the perspectives that they have in their dreams, and even on a deeper level, a state of consciousness where there is awareness in the deep dreamless sleep state. So I kind of think about this when you hear about cultures where maybe they used their dreams to determine if they were going to go to war or not, or if they were going to plant a certain type of seed or a certain type of plant, or, for agricultural reasons or political reasons. Um, this is kind of what I think about when I think of the word polycentricity and this flexibility of the mind. This kind of thins the veil already between the waking state and the dreaming state. So we're all, when we develop this sense of polycentricity and we can let go of this wake centric mindset, we're already thinning the veil and making the dream state and the waking state a little bit closer. From the waking state perspective, the making access or gaining access to the conscious dream state or the lucid dream state is now a little bit easier. It's a little bit closer to us. So, thinking about that, and let's talk about a few other techniques that you can specifically apply to kind of make these things feel a little bit more personal. So this is where, if you have this book or if you get this book, the first 2 techniques I'm going to talk to you about are preliminaries from the dream yoga practice. Dream yoga from, I should probably read from this book first so we can kind of get group on. Let me see how long I've been live. 25 minutes, so I can see, kind of time myself as well, because I have a lot of information. So I want to read a little bit from the introduction. Is this the introduction? Yeah. Of the book Dream Yoga by Andrew Holacek. It says, Introduction, Adventures in Consciousness. The journey we are about to take in the course of this book is both fun and profound. Most people have no idea about the extent of possibilities that exist for this adventure in consciousness, an adventure in the darkness of the night. We begin our journey with lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is when you realize you're dreaming, but without waking up from the dream. And that's important because remember, I had told you before, someone asked me if a lucid dream and a vivid dream are the same thing, and they're not the same thing. Some people, I think, when they hear lucid dream, they think vivid dream. Vivid means like how, and I can see how they would think that, because vivid kind of means how clear the dream is. In my mind, how clear it is and how detailed it is. And I think when you hear clear and detailed, you think lifelike. And that is a property of lucid dreams. Lucid dreams are lifelike, or in some ways more than lifelike. But the first portion of vividness and lifelike is not exactly the same. So I would just say like the clarity of your dream. A very clear dream that you can remember very clearly in with a lot of detail, that does not mean that you are lucid. You're only lucid if you realize you're dreaming inside of the dream and you have not woken up, like you're not awake. So your body is physically in the bed, knocked out. The body's knocked out, and inside of the dream, you have the same awareness as if you were not knocked out. Hopefully that makes sense. Try to explain it as clearly for people who seem to, I understand, but I think if you have the experience, it will turn on the light, and it's like, oh, okay. So if you're not sure, just stick around it and grab the workbook and do the techniques. Lucid dreaming is when you realize you're dreaming but without waking up from the dream. You're fully conscious within the dream and can do almost anything you want within it. Lucid dreaming is the ultimate in home entertainment. Your mind becomes the theater and you are the producer, director, writer, and main actor. You can script the perfect love story or the craziest adventure. Lucid dreaming can also be used to solve problems, rehearse situations, and work through psychological issues. For a book specifically about lucid dreaming, see the suggested reading list at the end of this book. Let's see, what else should I say from this page? Dream yoga, let's see. Going deeper, lucid dreaming can develop into dream yoga and become a spiritual practice. This is not to say that lucid dreaming isn't spiritual. It can be, but as a practice, and in contrast to dream yoga, lucid dreaming doesn't have as many spiritually oriented methods. Yoga is that which yokes or unifies. Dream yoga unifies you with deeper aspects of your being. It is more concerned with self-transcendence. And I thought this little tidbit is important to read just in case anybody was actually interested or this comes up. Maybe you're asking yourself about the religious portion or the spiritual portion, or is it religious? Is it spiritual? Can I do this? If you want to know, this is what Andrew Holacek has to say. While dream yoga oriented as a Buddhist practice, the Dalai Lama says, quote, "It is possible to practice dream yoga without a great deal of preparation. Dream yoga could be practiced by non-Buddhists as well as Buddhists. If a Buddhist practices dream yoga, he or she brings a special motivation and purpose to it. In the Buddhist context, the practice is aimed at the realization of emptiness, the nature of reality, but the same practice could be done by non-Buddhists." And so I think that this is, important in many ways. You don't have to be Buddhist to do this practice, and I'm not even going to be really talking about the practice. I'm going to talk to you about some of the techniques and preliminaries of the practice that I feel like really help you in this area that we're talking about, gaining conscious access to the lucid dream state, but things that you should be doing in the daytime to help you in the nighttime. So you don't have to be Buddhist to practice these techniques. And even someone who is considered like someone of authority in these traditions is saying that they're not specifically for Buddhists. You know, like learning how to lucid dream or even to practice these practices, they're not specifically Buddhist unless I guess you have a Buddhist intention that you're bringing to it. But just thought that that would be interesting, and you know, also maybe freeing for some people in a variety of ways. This portion I wanted to highlight the 3 wisdom tools. To take this journey inward, we're going to engage in the 3 prajnas or wisdom tools of hearing, contemplating, and meditating. Hearing or reading, this is what we're doing now, what you're doing now, about something leads to contemplating upon it, which leads to meditating on it. By reading and thinking about this material, you will be engaging the first 2 wisdom tools. In our voyage, this is like filling the gas tank, getting a good map, and stocking up on all the necessities for a big trip. But the journey truly begins when you start to meditate, when you actually turn the ignition on and engage with the yogas that take you within. This is when you'll replace the map with the territory, savor the uniqueness of this trip, and make your own discoveries as you travel into the core of your being. So I like this because he talks about the 3 wisdom tools: hearing, contemplating, and meditating. So if you're taking notes, write those down. Hearing, contemplating, meditating. Hearing, contemplating, meditating. Hey, everybody who's over here on Instagram, if you're watching over here on Instagram, you can be over here. No problem at all, but you might want to go ahead and join over here on YouTube. I will be able to drop resources and see the comment section and drop quotes and everything for you over there. So I advise going over there. It's the same name, Higher Alignment, but if you want to stay over here, you can. Just seeing if I have any questions. If you do have questions, just drop those in the chat along the way. You know, I will answer them and I will keep us on track as well. But the 3 wisdom tools: hearing, contemplating, and meditating. Go ahead and write those down because I think it's important in order for you to really be able to digest the information and not just learn about it in the sense like, oh, I've heard of this or I've heard of these techniques, and you kind of know, but you talk about it, but you really ain't never did it. Like, no, this process of hearing, contemplating, meditating, this is going to allow you to get the most out of this information and actually get the results. So if you're actually interested in learning how to lucid dream and getting results, rather than just being someone who's heard of it or kind of knows and kind of doesn't know, go ahead and write those down, the 3 wisdom tools. You're hearing now, you're hearing, or when you read something, that's also considered hearing. Contemplating, thinking on it, ruminating on it, coming up with your own interpretations of it, and then meditating. Meditating doesn't mean just sitting down and doing this inward process of closing your eyes and breathing. It means engaging in what you need to engage in, doing the things that you need to do to take this from an intellectual understanding into an actual experience in your life, and eventually into integration into your being. So think about those, the 3 wisdom tools: hearing, contemplating, meditating. I think that's everything that I want to talk about from this book. Yeah. So for right now, this is everything that we're going to go through for this one. But I think that's important because it sets us up, like Andrew Holochek calls it, with a good map. It gives us a good mindset, a good place to jump from. So let's go over here and let's talk about Dream yoga preliminaries. There are 4 of them, and we're going to talk about 2 of them. And here they're called the foundational practices. So I'm going to read a little bit. I have my copy all highlighted and marked up. And I should have probably taken better notes on these sections, but I know this. Oh, they're not actually very long. Let's see. So let's talk first about the first one, changing karmic traces. And actually, let me take a moment to notate this. Changing karmic traces, 35 or 45. Okay, so the first technique we're going to talk about is called Changing Karmic Traces. It comes from the Dream Yoga Preliminaries. And once again, this book is called The Tibetan Yogas of Dream and Sleep by Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche. In case you want to grab the text for yourself and read it with your own peepers. So on page 90, under this section 1, changing karmic traces. A version of the first foundational practice is rather known in the West because dream researchers and others interested in dreams have found that it helps to generate lucid dreaming. It is as follows. Throughout the day, practice the recognition of the dreamlike nature of life until the same recognition begins to manifest in dream. I will read it again. Throughout the day, practice the recognition of the dreamlike nature of life until the same recognition begins to manifest in your dreams. It continues on. Upon awakening in the morning, think to yourself, I am awake in a dream. When you enter the kitchen, recognize it as a dream kitchen. Pour dream milk into dream coffee. It's all a dream, you think to yourself. This is a dream. Remind yourself of this constantly throughout the day. Pretty self-explanatory. Let's see. Let me give you a little bit. I want to find something in here and then give you, yeah. Let's see. I think it's this section right here. I'll read from right here. A little bit further down, the second way of understanding the practice is to realize the waking life is actually the same as dream, that the entirety of normal experience is made up of the mind's projections, that all meaning is imputed, and that whatever we experience is due to the influence of karma. This is one way of articulating the realization that all phenomena are empty. Maybe that does not help. Well, let's unpack this one. This is one way of articulating the realization that all phenomena are empty and that the apparent self-nature of beings and objects is illusory. It's a mouthful, but let's think about this. This word that he's using here, phenomena. A phenomena is anything that you can perceive through your senses. So we have 5 senses: seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. So anything that you're able to perceive through your senses or taken through your senses, also anything that you're thinking about. All of these are phenomena. And so in this first technique of changing karmic traces, that you're viewing the world as if it is a dream. And you're telling yourself, oh, this is a dream. I'm in a dream kitchen. I'm pouring dream coffee right now. I'm on a dream telephone. I am looking at a dream computer. I'm wearing dream clothes. This is a dream body. Like, how can we actually feel this, you know? So this sentence right here, that all phenomena are empty and not the apparent self-nature of beings and objects is illusory. and that the apparent self-nature of beings and objects is illusory. So a phenomena is anything that you can see, hear, taste, touch, smell, or think about. This is what gives your experience this sense of being real, of being solid, of actually going on. And when you assume that you're dreaming, you're kind of, if you have wake centricity, then you assume that dreaming doesn't have that in some kind of way. But think about, you have a body in a dream, right? You have a body in a dream, and even though they say if you pinch yourself in a dream, it's not gonna hurt. If you pinch yourself in a dream and you expect it to hurt, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. If you don't expect it to hurt, then it's not gonna hurt. But if you're expecting, or if you kind of like have this hesitation that it might hurt, because the dream is made of karma, it's made of tendencies, and you have a tendency in the waking state to think that if you pinch yourself, it's gonna hurt. So you're always gonna revert back to your tendencies. If you're not lucid, or if you don't have a certain level of awareness or command of your, consciousness when you are in the dream. But these phenomena, so all phenomena are empty, not just the ones in the dream state. You notice that in the dream, it seems so real, it feels so real. Everything you can touch in the dream, it feels like an actual touch. If you eat something in a dream, it's so delicious, it's so great. You're actually tasting it, just like in the waking state. I kind of like to think of, I don't know where I heard this, but if you think about yesterday from the perspective of today, something that you ate yesterday, if you try to recall the taste of it now, it is very, in the same way, empty. Empty, illusory. These are the words that he's using. Phenomena are empty. Objects is illusory. The apparent self nature of beings and objects is illusory. This is what he's using. The words phenomena, empty, illusory. This is what this is referring to. So this phenomena of you tasting and eating the food that you ate yesterday that was just so lifelike, now from the perspective of today, you can see how it's a bit empty. Not that it didn't happen or that it doesn't happen. Illusory doesn't mean that it didn't appear. Sometimes I think people hear that and they may think that, like, oh, so you're saying it didn't happen. No, it appeared. Like, think of like a rainbow. A rainbow appears, you can see a rainbow, but it's illusory. You can't like take it with you. Once it's done, it's done. So that phenomena just is rainbow like. It's illusory. In the moment, it seems one way, just like in the dream state. In the moment, it seems one way, but if you wait, you can quickly do a little investigation and see that things aren't always as they seem in both the dreaming state and the waking state. So you can even think about something that you see. The sense of sight is the predominant sense that we use to kind of validate our reality in the waking state. The sense of sight is kind of what kicks the whole thing off of, like, this duality. We hear about duality, self and other. It's because of the way that sight works and the mind works. It makes it seem like there's this distance, so it looks like there's something to be seen. And then in the perspective of the ego, if there's something that is to be seen, then there must be a seer. So this creates both the thing that is perceived and the perceiver, if that means anything to you, and really the act of perception at all, maybe. But all of the phenomena are illusory. So think about like a red rose. You see a red rose and you're like, oh, the red is out there. The red is out there, and it's actually real. It's absolutely real. Just like in a dream, you would be thinking that whatever is out there is absolutely real. But if you think about this from the perspective of maybe like a bumblebee or a dog or another creature. There are different creatures that are able to see different wavelengths on the light spectrum. They can see infrared, they can see ultraviolet. So something that you look at and you see as a red rose, and to you it's like the realness is because it's out there and it's objective and it's solid and it cannot be changed. Like it is a real red rose, and that's what it is. If you ask another being, that's not a red rose. It's not even red. It may not even be a rose. It may not even be a flower. You know, so that's very dreamlike. You know, something that seems to be so real is not actually what it appears to be. And so that's what this is saying, changing karmic traces. This first technique, viewing reality as if it is a dream, and a way that you can kind of like think about that and actualize it and begin to actually live that is to think about those examples. You know, think about yesterday from the perspective of today. And then you can think about today from the perspective of tomorrow. Think about today right now from the perspective of tomorrow. It gives it this immediacy, a little bit more illusoriness, dream-like quality. So then when you're like, okay, I'm awake in a dream. When you enter the kitchen, recognize it as a dream kitchen. Well, if you recognize that all phenomena are empty and all objects are illusory, and this is what it's saying, phenomena, then you know, okay, well, I'm seeing, but what I'm seeing is may not be as real, meaning, I guess, non-illusory, as it seems to be, if we really do a little bit of closer investigation. So by doing this practice, like all practices, changes, the tea. It's blackberry sage oolong, just in case you were wondering. Doing this practice, like all practices, changes the way one engages the world by changing habitual and largely unconscious reactions to phenomena. The quality of life and dream change. I guess I was wanting to illustrate that you want to do this until it becomes a habit. You know, then that brings this closer. So when people are like, you know, see the world as a dream, they're talking about how to establish a lucid dream and to do this technique of always telling yourself that I'm dreaming. Hello, Passion P331. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Like always assume that I'm dreaming, and using affirmations to tell myself that I'm dreaming. Like, how can we actually make this a little bit more immediate by doing this practice of changing karmic traces? The second one is removing grasping and aversion. I call it releasing grasping and aversion. The text says removing. And that's what I mean. That's why I like looking at the resources, because you may hear somebody else say, you know, this is what was said, and that's not what was said. They used a whole different word and made that up. The text says removing grasping and aversion. The second foundational practice works to further decrease grasping and aversion. Grasping is when, kind of like when you take this experience for something that it's not and you grasp onto it. A way of illustrating this is, say, kind of like when you take something as being serious. I think I even saw a workshop that Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche gave, and he talked about relationships. He was giving an example probably of this. And when you take a relationship, when people say, you know, let's get serious, and they're in a relationship, in a way, it's kind of like that. We want to cause a problem. And the problem comes from grasping on and taking things as very serious, and it loses its dreamlike quality. It loses its playfulness. So us taking things very seriously, being very narrow-minded, grasping onto something like a thought or a belief and holding onto it tightly. This grasping. And it even honestly extends beyond thoughts and beliefs, even to just perceptions, period. And then aversion, pushing something away that you don't like. So one is like, ooh, I like this, grasp onto this. And the other one is, ugh, no, I don't like that. And both of these really come about because of non-lucidity. Being non-lucid in the moment, you tend to react with habitual reactions. And those habitual reactions really fall into two categories: grasping onto an experience or averting the experience. So this second technique, removing grasping and aversion. Whereas the first preparation is applied in the moment of encountering phenomena and before a reaction occurs, the second is engaged after an action has arisen. Essentially, they are the same practice, distinguished only by a situation in which the practice is applied and by the object of attention. The first practice directs lucid awareness and the recognition of phenomena as dream toward everything that is encountered, sense objects, internal events, one's own body, and so forth. The second preparation specifically directs the same lucid awareness to emotionally shaded reactions that occur in response to the elements of the experience. So, after you have had an experience, if you've grasped onto it or if you have pushed it away, typically comes from that emotional, what is he called, emotionally shaded reactions. So in the moment when you tend to have these strong reactions, these strong tendencies, it gives you the opportunity to stop. Like, I kind of do this. I have a dog, and sometimes he irritates me. I get irritated with him. And sometimes it's really a lot of the time our interspecies relationship. And sometimes if you have a pet, I'm pretty sure you have things and they have things. But whenever something comes up, like maybe he goes in the room or goes in the kitchen, and I don't like him going in the kitchen, and I take this as a moment to be very serious, and this could even extend beyond that, but I'm just giving an example. But you have tons of other very strong emotional reactions. As soon as that arises, and you feel that, the moment after, you get an opportunity to once again bring a level of lucidity or remind yourself, this is a phenomenon. This is a phenomenon. And you already saw how the other phenomena are very dreamlike and illusory. These phenomena are no different. Yesterday I might have been very irritated or very emotional, whatever emotion you want to throw in there. And in the moment, I became non-lucid when I really grasped onto that emotion or pushed it away, and then responded in whatever emotional way that I wanted to keep it going. The same thing happens when you're in a dream. When you take the dream as real and you don't really realize that you're dreaming, you're so close to the content of the dream and so emotionally grasping and averting, you're not really lucid. You're not really aware. Over here on Instagram is my phone. My other phone is on flash 20%. So that means that one's gonna die soon. When it gets down to 10%, I'm gonna stop it. And it reminds me, I need to speed it up. So polycentricity, mindset, and mindfulness. I might have to do a part 2 for this. We'll go as long as I can, and then maybe we'll do a part 2 next session. But I do think that these things are really important to get down, because if you start to really do this all the time and combine this with the other techniques that you often hear about, dream science and reality checks, and we're also going to talk about mindfulness meditation, but combining these together it just really puts the power in it. It really makes it real. It really makes it accessible. versus wandering around and telling yourself, oh, this is a dream, and you don't even believe that, and you don't even see how this is a dream. You're just saying some stuff. So, next, let's talk about mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness meditation, if you have the workbook, in the beginning of the workbook, remember we talked about this under mindset. Let me tell you what page it is. Turn to page 8. Turn to page 8, the bottom of page 8. I wrote, if you're serious about being lucid in the dream state, meditation is indispensable. Why? Meditation gives you the ability to observe without participating. You can be aware of what's going on without being absorbed into what's going on. And that's exactly what you want to be doing in the dream state if you want to be lucid. In non-lucid dreams, you are completely absorbed into what's taking place in the dream state. When you are too emotionally and mentally close to the action, then you're non-lucid. You completely forgot about being aware and stable in your awareness. Instead, you're swept away by the movements. In a study from Psychol Consciousness entitled Increased Lucid Dream Frequency in Long-Term Meditators But Not Following MBSR Training, long title. Researchers found that using a blinded randomized control design, and this is in quotations, we evaluate the impact of an 8-week mindfulness course on lucid dreaming frequency. Our results show that lucid dreaming is more frequent in long-term meditators compared to meditation-naive individuals. And there's a little bit more of the quote there for you if you have the workbook. And then also right below, I'll put the link to the study so you can go find it and read it for yourself if that interests you. Once again, I want to give you resources where you don't have to just take what I say because I'm saying it. You can go read it for yourself and do your own research and have your own interpretation. And then there's a section on motivation, inspiration, and lightheartedness. And at the beginning, we talked about your motivation and you developing your motivation. So I'll talk a little bit about why that is important. But mindfulness meditation really is the practice of lucidity. It's another way of practicing lucidity and really engaging it, and it's going to strengthen your practice. So especially if you're doing this, I will recommend twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. In the evening, you want to practice mindfulness meditation right before you're going to bed or right before you're going to sleep. That's definitely going to help you remember more dreams. And when you begin practicing lucidity induction techniques and you have that goal, and you're doing things specifically with that goal in mind to become lucid, this is going to assist you as well. In the back of the workbook, in the additional resources section, let me tell you where that is, there is a link to a meditation, the meditation that I suggest that you use for this practice of becoming lucid. I designed one for you. It is on page 26 in the section Introduction to Lucidity. Actually, go ahead and turn to that page. Go ahead and turn to that section. It starts on page 24. It's a big picture. I'm going to read to you from page 25. Lucid dreaming is being aware that you are dreaming while you are dreaming. You bring the element of your waking consciousness into the dream state. This allows your waking consciousness to be in direct contact with your subconscious. The lucid dream state can be used for a variety of purposes and experiences. We kind of talked about that. But then there's a section on mindfulness. Lucidity is an extension of mindfulness. This is on page 26. When we are mindful, we are bearing something in mind. Here we bear attention and awareness in the mind. The opposite of mindfulness is forgetfulness or distraction. You are always practicing something, either mindfulness or distraction. These habits carry over into the dream state. If you are habitually distracted in the waking state, then when you sleep, you are distracted and you experience the dreams of ignorance, dreams of forgetfulness. You do not know that you are dreaming because you are ignorant of your awareness. You think that the lion that is chasing you in the dream is real. You can begin to cultivate mindfulness in the dreaming state by practicing mindfulness meditation in the waking state. Science has shown that meditating before bed will increase your chances of becoming lucid. And I give my recommendation. I will recommend meditating for at least 25 minutes utilizing a mindfulness meditation technique such as the mindfulness of breathing technique or formless meditation like awareness of awareness for more advanced practitioners. You will want to do this within 1.5 hours of going to sleep to increase your chances of becoming lucid. And then right there, if you click below, I have a guided meditation that I made for you in order to help you practice mindfulness meditation, a guided meditation to help you learn this technique. And there's an entire playlist of meditations there for you as well. So we basically spent the entire hour on this section: polycentricity, mindset, and mindfulness. Yeah, I think we should stop there, because then we can start with dream science and reality checks next time. And that really is a good this really is a good foundation. I think if you watch this video alone, then even if you've already heard of reality checks and dream signs, that those things will make even more sense to you. Already, I'm pretty sure your mind is wandering, but then when we get to dream signs and reality checks, that will also be a bit more clear. And in the meantime, what I want you to do is go back to the basic skills section in the workbook and look at the pages on dream recall and dream journaling, and make sure that you are sticking to your dream journaling over the next week, to make sure that you have dreams to actually find patterns and signs from in the next workshop, so that you can immediately take advantage of the techniques that we'll go over there as well. Okay? So let's go ahead and end it here. If you do have any questions, go ahead and put those in the comment section below, and I will make sure that I answer them so you get all of the information that you need. If you're over here on Instagram, you can send me a DM, and you already know that I'm very responsive. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and we will be back next time for part 2.